Okay, I'll start by having us interact just a little bit. So an autonomous vehicle would be a car that drives itself. So what you know now, how many of you would feel comfortable driving an autonomous vehicle now? Raise your hand, just thinking just a little bit, just so you know. How many of you would feel comfortable driving alongside one on the highway, not knowing what it's doing, but it's just driving alongside you? Okay, and lastly, how many of you feel that there are autonomous vehicles on the roadway today? Okay, so as we go on, autonomous vehicles are not a dream of the past anymore. Different companies such as General Motors, this is their Cruise model, Ford, Waymo, which is a offset company of Google, and Tesla all have their own forms of autonomous transportation. Many studies have been done on autonomous vehicles showing that they should benefit traffic in large numbers, but with the little bit that have been integrated nowadays, we see very little of these results. Innovations in this driverless technology are rapidly advancing, and autonomous vehicles will be the future of transportation. The capabilities of autonomous vehicles are endless, and many different companies have tried different things with them. Uber and Lyft are big transportation companies that I'm sure many of you have heard of. Both of them have their own forms of autonomous vehicles and testing that they're doing with passengers today. Uber stopped their testing a couple years ago after an accident that I'm sure many of us heard about. They should be restarting their testing soon after saying that there is a problem with that specific car. But this shied many people away from that usage. Stephen Arnaz, in his article Self-Driving Cars, says that cars are rated on a level 5 automation scale by the SAE International. This is the Society of Automotive Engineers. And they basically go around the globe and standardize testing and a bunch of different things for automotives. A level 1 automation would include something kind of like cruise control. These are common across the globe and are in almost every single car. Whereas a level 5 automation would be much more advanced and wouldn't need a safety driver and could drive itself in every single condition. The majority of nowadays vehicles that are working towards this level of automation would work towards a level of 4 automation, and that's what we've seen in those other slides before. So these cars could work without a safety driver in almost every single condition, and they're programmed to not work in unmapped areas or in areas of severe weather. So advanced technology of autonomous vehicles is rapidly advancing, and these vehicles create 3D environments and map the surrounding area. The Cruise taxi is a possible usage for autonomous vehicles. The Cruise is the GM company, and it'd be a taxi that would work as a regular taxi without a driver. People would get in and they'd tell it where to go, and they could bring them across town. As I stated before, many companies are working towards this level 4 automation, and this would be an example of that. Now, some of you may be wondering how these vehicles work without interaction with our regular vehicles. So, as Stephen Arnaz once again explains, that these cars' computer software uses that information learned from sensors to construct a 3D environment. So this is, if we could see what an autonomous vehicle sees, it would look something like that top left. It blots out different things and views. So if we could see what they would see, it looks something like that. Then, as Shuk An from the Wuhan University tells us, he explains that the software that those sensors gather is used in 3 different main modes when following a car on a highway. Those are acceleration, maintaining constant speed, and deceleration. These cars can rapidly tell how fast they need to stop and how much room that takes for however fast they're going. So it sets those boundaries for itself, and it can tell when to speed up or slow down. That equation in the top left is one of the most basic equations that I could find. And all that does, it tells the car how fast it can go when maintaining the constant speed. So the equation and math for these cars is outrageous. Amir Gold Dental offers a suggested usage of autonomous vehicles that has been studied and shown to effectively improve traffic conditions. So what an autonomous vehicle would do in a constellation is the green car would be the autonomous car. So it'd pull all the way over to the right side and slow down a little bit until it met up with another autonomous vehicle. They would all form this line in the right lane until there was enough to block every lane of traffic. They would pull out into traffic then, and they would follow each other. It kind of got cut off here, I think. But they would all follow in a straight line then at a constant speed, so no one could pass them. People may not agree with how this works, but it's been shown to effectively reduce fuel consumption and increase velocity. So basically you could get to wherever you want to go faster. So there's very little legislation currently about automotive vehicles, and there's rapid advancement without restriction. According to the article, Washington goes slow on autonomous vehicles and states don't mind. Federal lawmakers have yet to enact an autonomous vehicle law, leaving states as the primary forces in shaping policy. So as of right now, there are very little rules and restrictions about testing, and it's basically just decided by state to state. So this promotes companies to do more testing and to make more innovations in automotive vehicles, because there's very little hoops they need to jump through, so it's very easy for them to make innovation right now. And many of you in this classroom, and many people believe that there are a lot of concerns with this rapid advancement without any restriction. Mark Koekelberg from he's a Belgian philosopher. He questions the moral and ethical decisions that these cars would kind of have to make. I'm sure a lot of us have heard about the trolley problem, and he relates this to cars. So inevitably, a trolley or car will be heading one direction and will inevitably kill 5 people, or you can actively change lanes and have it kill 1 person. So in total, you're saving 4 lives, but you're committing 1 person to death. So he relates these to the vehicles, saying that an autonomous vehicle may be put into a lose-lose scenario where they either need to sacrifice the passenger or sacrifice a pedestrian. So with many different outlooks, and many of you in this classroom may believe on what should happen in those scenarios, it's very hard to program these vehicles to tell it what is the right thing to do. Even without these moral dilemmas at hand, many people still are questionative and have concerns about autonomous vehicles. Here we see a different survey that Michael Neese, he's an assistant professor at the Lafayette College. One of his surveys he did with over 500 participants, showing how people view safety of themselves and autonomous vehicles. In the top left, we can see how people rate themselves on safety. This 50 would be the average driver. So as you can see, the average person thinks they're better than the average driver, and this is seen all across the United States and is seen in other surveys. Below that, you can see that many people view autonomous vehicles as safe as themselves, or safer, or much less safer, and this varied a ton between participants. But even with that information and believing they may be safer than the average person, many people still did not feel comfortable with allowing them on the roads. So many people believe that they should be much, much safer than themselves. So being a benchmark of autonomous vehicles are average than the safer person will not necessarily sell everyone on the idea of them. So, as I conclude, autonomous vehicles are not anymore a dream of the past. They're a part of today's society. Driverless technology, as it progresses and more legislation is made, autonomous cars will become more and more prevalent in today's society. So when you leave school today and you sit in your car, think about sitting in your car and not having to grab the steering wheel to steer out of the parking lot. Or getting in your truck and not having to push the gas pedal to go anywhere. Now, for us rural people, it may take a little bit longer for that to happen, but people in bigger cities already are seeing this in their everyday. This dream is here. It's upon us. Thank you.